Last of Us has finally come into fruition on HBO Max, and it is one of my most anticipated things of all time to view on any medium because that's my favorite video game of all time. So in today's list, we're going to be rounding out my top 10 video games that need to be turned into TV shows, or maybe some of these could easily be movies as well, but in general, I took 10 that I think could be turned into excellent shows. But with that said, guys, make sure to leave your thoughts down below. Hit that like and subscribe button because we'll be covering The Last of Us and tons of other movies and TV shows over here on a daily basis. But without further ado, let's get right into this. As a point of reference, some of these might have been announced that they were in development but never really went past kind of certain announcements of a producer or a writer, or maybe never even got the true green light for that. But I will not be talking about Fallout. Fallout is officially getting a TV show. They're already literally filming it as we speak. Horizon has been greenlit for a show on Netflix. God of War just got the greenlit, and they'll probably start casting pretty soon. I would not be surprised if that show went into production by the end of this year. Last but not least, Borderlands is already being made into a movie. They've already filmed it. We're literally just waiting for a release date now. Coming in at my number 10 is Elden Ring. There's been conversations already about this getting an adaptation or some sort of way of discussion, I think within Netflix, but for me, there's been really no further development in this. And I think if you take any of From Software's big games like this, whether it's Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Elden Ring, you can take any of those and adapt it into a really cool show, specifically if you were able to frame a very unique story within the mythology that is already given inside the games. Because when we look at the games, a majority of the games do not really have the deepest story, unless you really want to dig for that lore in that story, but the mythology, the characters, the world, the production design itself is all there. You just need a master to come in and really write something special in there, and I think it could truly turn out to be one of the best adaptations of any game ever. And I know many people will probably be saying, but Zach, wouldn't you rather have this be a movie? After seeing the production design within Lord of the Rings and House of Dragons, I honestly think that this would better be fit for at least a show, specifically on an HBO or an Amazon Prime. And I just say that because movie-wise, I think you could get maybe a 2-hour great movie. It really just depends, but I want to live in this world, and I think a show would do best. My number 9 is Kingdom Hearts. Now, I went kind of back and forth. Do I want to do a Final Fantasy or Kingdom Hearts? And I ended up settling on Kingdom Hearts for multiple reasons. We've already seen like what you can do with like League of Legends within Arcane, and Cyberpunk has, at least with the anime, and I think you could do a Kingdom Hearts anime on Disney+. You could do like 20 episodes per season, and I think that would be magnificent. Maybe you don't have to include all the Final Fantasy characters in there, but you could do Sora, Donald, Goofy, and give it a unique and vibrant animation that we have not seen before, or maybe isn't played around with enough, and follow throughout the story of Kingdom Hearts. There's no way in hell you could do this just as a straight live adaptation. I think that would just look weird, but if you're doing an animation, I think you could do an animated show and would absolutely thrive on Disney+. My number 8 is Dead Space. Now, I think a lot of us could argue that this could probably work either better as a movie or a show, depending on what you wanted to tell. I could see it working in both realms. Maybe I specifically would like it to be more of a movie, but don't get me wrong, I think a show, there's a lot of developments within the Ishimura, specifically on the first Dead Space, that I would actually like for them to touch on and develop a little bit better than what was in the original video game. And of course, once you get into Dead Space 2 and even Dead Space 3, the lore just continues to build and build from there, and with characters that you probably want to be a little bit less thin, I think that's where a show would actually work. And I don't feel like we get enough horror shows nowadays. Let Mike Flanagan direct this. I think that would be fucking epic. Mike Flanagan can't do it. Can we get Andy Muschietti to direct this? Because I think that would be awesome. My number 7 is Infamous. Now, I think Infamous would actually live pretty well over on Netflix of all things, because Infamous for me it's honestly really surprising me that we have not gotten an adaptation of this yet because of the superhero craze that we have right now. But with 3 video games, 2 being about Cole McGrath and 1 being about, I think his name's Delson or Nelson or something like that. I really like the third one, but the first 2 were something special, specifically in the way that it really changed the landscape for Sony and PS3 at the time. And I think Infamous kind of came out around a time when superheroes weren't having that giant boom yet. And this is again a franchise that I'm surprised they've not touched on again, but also just a franchise that I'm surprised we've not gotten an adaptation up yet. There's a great world, there's great story, there's great like mythology when it comes down to the power sets and everything that you could really further out in there. And again, could this work as a movie? Yes. But I think as a show, you get more development with these characters, and with how sprawling the world can be, specifically with it being open world, I think that's where it would need, of course, the TV show format to really work it wonders. You could do 2 seasons and then do a spin-off season furthering out the character from Second Son. Now, my number 6 is Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2. Now, I say 1 and 2 because clearly if you've played 2, you know that's a prequel to 1, and the way that 1 plays out, there's just a wide-spanning Western, and we do not have any big Western shows right now. I mean, we had Deadwood, you had Westworld a little bit, but a lot of that went into the sci-fi realm. If we truly want something that's Western, Red Dead Redemption has one of the best stories ever. And if you start out with 2 and tell the story of that whole entire gang and then lead into John Marston's story within the second one, you easily have a good 3 to 5 seasons right there of material that I would love to live in the old Wild West. You got heist, you got betrayal, you got revenge, you have so much greatness out there. And I think out of all the Rockstar properties, this is one of the few that I actually think could work in any sort of format. And I say that as a huge Grand Theft Auto fan. I do not think Grand Theft Auto would work in any of these formats. I think Grand Theft Auto plays too much off other mobster and gang-related stories. But really much looking at it, it's LA Noire and Red Dead Redemption, and I only wanted to include one Rockstar game in here, so I included Red Dead Redemption because I think that has the biggest landscape for making out to be one of the best series of all time. My number 5 is another animated show that I'm surprised, again, that we have not gotten, and that is Overwatch. Overwatch for me is like one of the most addicted multiplayer games of all time from Blizzard, and I went back and forth because Blizzard has had a countless amounts of games that easily could be adapted into anything. StarCraft was one that I went back and forth on. Diablo, which is actually my favorite gaming franchise from them, but I don't know how you would exactly do Diablo. I think animation would probably work best in that too, but part of me would actually like that to be live action and more as a movie. And I don't think it's a show that would directly work, but I think Overwatch, if anything, does have the material to be there. Great mythology, unique characters. I feel like something in the vein of Arcane, of how they took those League of Legends characters and adapted them, is the way to do Overwatch. I would love to see that animation from Arcane used for this, and I think that would actually be the best way. And that's kind of the reason that this kind of stuck out in my brain. Overwatch, again, has some of the most colorful characters and some of the most colorful worlds, but really nothing else into there, and I think there's enough material in there that you could really further out and give us a great show. My number 4 is Alan Wake. We talked about Mike Flanagan earlier, maybe possibly wanting him to direct a Dead Space film. This is another one of those that I would absolutely love for Mike Flanagan to take hold, specifically because of what he did with Dr. Sleep. He handled that Stephen King material so well, and Alan Wake, in a lot of ways, is very much based off and very much heavily influenced by Stephen King novels. And we're getting a second game soon. The first game was absolutely incredible. The spinoff was fun and fine, but generally, that story fits for a great hour-long epic. Like, if you were to do hour-long episodes, do like 5 to 10 episodes. There's such great material in there, and it's spooky, it's scary, and again, I need Alan Wake in my life. I feel like the vibe of what I would want from Alan Wake is something that The Haunting of Hill House stories had given me, and even like Midnight Mass. My number 3 is actually one that has been announced as a movie, but I do not believe that this fucking thing is happening until I actually see that it is in production with actors, because I've gotten my hopes up way too much for this, and that is Bioshock. Gore Verbinski was supposed to make a movie for this years ago, and it never came into fruition. I've read the script for that. It was freaking awesome. And then, of course, now we have the team behind, like, Constantine and The Hunger Games and Red Sparrow, which is actually, like, a really good director choice. The writer's kind of hit or miss, but again, Bioshock is something that they're making into a movie. I definitely think there's potential for a franchise here where you could actually show a series, like a mini-series of the fall of Rapture. I mean, we'd actually gotten to see in Bioshock Infinite's sub-stories within its add-ons, but even looking from there, whether you want to make it a show or a movie, a show could really flesh out a lot of this world, a lot more of the characters, and actually bring to life Rapture in a unique way. The reason I'd wanted a movie is because I would love to experience Rapture and everything of its nature within a movie format, but there is so many things that come into Bioshock that I actually do think it works better as a show, specifically once you get into the more nitty-gritty of the stuff within the Bioshock Infinite. If you decide to do a second season or a third season, there's a lot of stuff in there that really represents a lot of stuff. And for me, I love Bioshock. It's one of the coolest worlds I've ever gone to, and I need this turned into live action series right now. Now, my number 2 is another one that's clearly, like, this one's been in development. Like, they've already kind of announced this one, but again, I will not believe it till I see it. Announced that they're doing a live action movie, and I think there's even rumors a part of that they're doing a show. That's cool. I think a movie actually works best for this. Again, I don't believe this is happening till we actually get some casting, and that is Gears of War. Gears of War is my favorite franchise of all time when it comes down to video games. It's not my favorite video game of all time. It's definitely in my top 3, but it is my favorite video game franchise of all time. I love Gears of War so much, and I love everything about it. I've loved each and every one of the games and installments that we've gone. I love the characters, I love the brutality, and I've been pitching this. You have Zack Snyder over at Netflix, you have Dave Bautista over there at Netflix doing Army of the Dead. Have him be, of course, our main guy, Marcus Phoenix, and have Zack Snyder direct a Gears of War film, because that would be fucking awesome. The reason I would like also a show is because I think there's a lot more of like E-Day that we didn't get to see, and I would like to see the perspective of different characters than just Delta Squad. Make Delta Squad the movie, but make all the other characters and the surrounding aspects of that a part of the TV show. There's a lot you can do with this franchise. It's not just, oh, big guys with giant guns running through. I mean, that's kind of the main point of it all, but there's a lot more to Gears of War, and I would like to see the political aspects of those all as well that the games never really dove into. My number one thing that must be a show, and there's been rumors for countless years that Amazon Prime owns the rights to this and that they are going to be developing it, but again, nothing has moved past just the needle of rumors and pretty much small little announcements, and again, I don't believe anything, but that is Mass Effect. Talk about my favorite trilogy of all time when it comes down to gaming. This would probably be my favorite gaming franchise of all time if it wasn't for Andromeda, which I did not like. And even adding in from there, it's my second favorite video game of all time right behind The Last of Us. So Mass Effect for me is everything. You could do that trilogy in like 3 to 5 seasons and it would be like one of the best things you could ever give. And I say that because each game in a way could be its own season, specifically because of the amount of characters that they have to give development to. And it is going to be a very hard series. Out of any of the shows that I've talked about, this and Kingdom Hearts would probably be the hardest to adapt because of how many characters, how many worlds, how much exploration, and how much depth you have to give. Because the best thing about Mass Effect is no matter how many of the games you play, once you get down to that third game, each and every one of the characters is nearly fleshed out. Maybe there's like 1 or 3 that didn't get a ton, but overall, even the most minor characters you care about and you understand everything, single thing, top to bottom from them. And I would love to see Commander Shepard come into live action. I think there's so much that you could do with Mass Effect, and I think it is one of the coolest worlds. Plus, we do not have like space epic things like this on TV. Like, we have Star Trek, and, you know, some of the Star Trek stuff is definitely pretty good. We had Westworld, which was sci-fi, but not space. This could be like that next big Firefly thing, and I think it would absolutely pay off. It's gonna be my top 10 things that absolutely should become TV shows, or just in general movies. Thank you so much again, guys, for watching this. You guys are really the best. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button for Last of Us content. I've already posted tons of videos on The Last of Us, whether in shorts or just video format. Thank you so much again for watching this, and of course, until next time, stay classy.